Hey everyone, and welcome to DnD Horror Stories with DnD Doge. In today's video, we have a story about a Spotlight Hog Dungeons & Dragons player that betrays the party multiple times. A story about a dungeon master that gives one player the power to summon a god, and much more. So without further ado, let's get into the DnD Horror Story cringe. Edgelord player constantly goes against what the party wants. By Reddit user ScaredRip9844. This story comes from a campaign I'm actually still part of, and the problem player has since been removed and replaced by a new player. The players in this campaign are me, playing an artificer, a fighter, warlock, cleric, and the problem player, playing a bloodhunter. At the start of the campaign, nothing was really off about the problem player. He did edgy things every now and then, but that's fine, because he is allowed to play as he wishes. However, the problems truly started when his real personality started to show itself. Whenever he would talk to an NPC, he would always demand information from them, and if he didn't get it immediately, he would either threaten them with violence or just straight up use torture to get what he wanted. This also happened when we captured enemies that we wanted information from. Instead of asking questions and role-playing, he would say something like, "I take my knife and cut open my wrist and bleed my fire blood onto the person." Again, it's fine if someone plays a character like this, the kind of person who uses force to get what they want, but this happened all the time. Every time we needed to interrogate or question someone, he would immediately escalate the situation by using violence or threatening the NPCs. One thing that I had particular issue with was whenever we interacted with someone who was not a human or a human-looking species in game, he would constantly make weird comments about them, like having a constant hatred of dwarves, to the point where it stopped feeling like a joke, because every time we interacted with a dwarf, he would say something to the degree of, "We should genocide all dwarves because they suck." The moment where I genuinely got upset with him was on a mission we were given by a mysterious organization that we wanted to join. The goal was to destroy a temple with a magic ice bomb. The reason why is because the gods that were being worshipped there were actually being puppeted by the god of undeath, thus giving him more worshippers and more power over the world. Me, warlock, cleric, and fighter came up with the idea that we should go in at night to have as little casualties as possible. Bloodhunter then gets up, takes the ice bomb, and starts walking into the temple in broad daylight. I stop him and say, wait, what are you doing? We agreed to go in at night, remember?" Bloodhunter: "Oh yeah. I'm just going in to ask some questions about my past." Me: Okay, I guess." Bloodhunter then goes in and detonates the bomb, killing hundreds of people who were in this temple complex. His excuse for doing this was that he was, quote, "just saving time." Now, I understand that what Bloodhunter did was kind of dickish, but at the same time, I feel like the other players should have known something was up, just based on the fact that Bloodhunter grabbed the device before going to the temple. It should have been obvious to them and their characters that this would be the outcome. But I digress. Let's continue. I was getting angry at this point, because every time we try and do something or get something planned out, he just goes F it and does his own thing. He also did things out of game, constantly, that made me mad. Every time I came up with a plan for us to follow in order to accomplish one of our goals, he would always say something like, "Nah, that won't work," or "I don't think that's a very good plan," or "What about X or Y?" and then never give any solution to the problem that he points out. Jumping forward to about the midpoint of the game, we are in the middle of a fight with a wizard after we tried to steal 2 sentient magic rings from him. During the fight, me, cleric, and fighter all go down, with Warlock in the backline firing Eldritch Blast, and Bloodhunter using wings from a homebrew ability that him and the DM discussed beforehand. He then decides to fly away from the fight instead of helping us out. He is a melee-focused class, and me and Cleric were mostly squishy casters. He could have helped us out, but he doesn't. I get frustrated and say, "Of course you would." And he responds with, "Well, I don't want to get involved in a useless fight." After this, I started to have a genuine animosity towards both him and his character, and I didn't trust him or his judgment because of his selfish, self-motivated behavior. My intuition was correct, however, because when we were in a flooded section of the Underdark to try and cure one of our party members of a disease that accelerates when magic is used, Bloodhunter decides to betray the party while we were in mid-conversation with a group of Triton elders who were related to Cleric's backstory. While we were talking, Bloodhunter takes out his greatsword and swings for Fighter's head. At this point, my Artificer character had died, and I was now playing a Dragonborn Path of the Beast Barbarian. I asked the DM if I could use my tail reaction on someone else to give them an AC bonus. The DM says yes, so I swing my tail out and protect Fighter from the worst of the attack. After this happened, it was revealed that the reason Bloodhunter was going against my plans was not because they were bad plans, but because they directly went against his secret motivation to betray the party and help the BBEG, which was a goddess of ice and destruction. Why would he want to do this? Absolutely no clue. Well, I guess him taking the ice device into the temple makes a bit more sense now, since he was secretly working for the goddess of ice and destruction. I wonder if the DM knew about any of this, or if Bloodhunter kept it all to himself. After this happened, and Bloodhunter made a quote new character, it was just the same character, but with a different hair color and class. The DM had a conversation with Bloodhunter saying that if he went against what the party wanted again, he would be removed from the game, and Bloodhunter agreed. Well, I guess that answers my previous question. The final nail in the coffin happened fairly recently. As the party was traveling, we got word that the goddess of ice and destruction was going to attempt to fire a massive magical beam at the location of a very important NPC we needed. So we did everything we could to deflect the magic blast and succeeded. And the DM gave Bloodhunter the ability to choose where it goes. Bloodhunter then chooses for it to hit where the important NPC is. The DM starts to describe what happens, and I speak up. Me. Wait, what? We went through all of that, and you're just going to blow him up anyways? That's BS. Bloodhunter. Well, I rolled a D2, and this is what it landed on. DM. No. Don't blame the dice. You made this decision. Either make a new one, or I'm letting someone else decide where it goes. Bloodhunter. Okay, fine. Let someone else do it then. Me and Fighter decide to send the blast to a far-off corner of the map that we thought had no people in it. I did not roleplay my anger with Bloodhunter because in character we would have no idea that he attempted to do this. That was the last straw when it came to me, the DM, and the rest of the players. The DM removed him from the game, and he was replaced later on by a new player. According to the other players who have played with him before, he acts like this in every single game. Same character, same selfish attitude, same issues in every campaign he plays in. This is my first time posting here. Sorry if it was a long one, or if it's not very good of a story. But thank you all anyway for letting me post this story. Well, it certainly sounds like Bloodhunter is an adversarial player that probably thinks that going against the grain in regards to what everyone else is doing makes his character unique or something like that, if the way he played as being so edgy is any indication. Though I do wonder why the DM didn't stop him from making the magic beam go to the spot that the party was trying to make it not go to. Perhaps the DM just isn't good at confrontation in the moment, and it took OP saying something about it being BS to give the DM the courage to tell Bloodhunter no. Thankfully, it sounds like the game is going good now, after they booted Bloodhunter and picked up a new player. Now, before we move on to the next post, it's been a year since I found Luna on the side of the road, so I figured it's only proper that she be the like and comment kitty for this video. She really loves treats, and if you would like to help out with the Kitty Treat Fund, I'll put my Ko-Fi and Buy Me a Coffee links in the description, and if you leave a message with a donation, I'll be sure to read it in the next video, if it follows YouTube TOS of course. But with that said, let's move on to the next RPG horror story. We're superheroes, ma'am, by Reddit user Fanamazed. A group I'm in that does a DC Comics themed play-by-post game decided after years of play that it had gotten too dense to be inviting to new players, along with people getting frustrated about certain stories reaching a conclusion and then having nowhere to go, longtime players ghosting, etc. So we decided to have a reboot. It was a good idea, and some newbies made themselves right at home, though some had trouble. I was playing Beast Boy and inviting various people to join the Titans. I figured that, traditionally, maybe Titans tend to be kind of misfits, Beast Boy among them. So, when someone joined up as a sewer-dwelling, rat-themed heroine, I was open to the idea initially. We role-played the recruitment conversation, and it was like pulling teeth, getting her to give any indication why she wanted to exit the sewers to help people, what her abilities were outside of, quote, has rat features, etc. She seemed to have zero direction, and people kept DMing me their admiration for how much patience I was having with someone who seemed to repel any and all hooks held out to her with total obliviousness. This continued until the horror story bit kicked in. She starts dropping a couple of racist jokes into general chat. Everyone is just stone silent in confusion. And on realizing that no one was down for this, she panicked and immediately quit the group. It was almost too bizarre to even be offended by. Like if an alien crawled out of a wreckage in an open field to call me a slur. Well, that had to be an experience. Perhaps this player was just new to anything involving roleplay, and couldn't grasp that you actually have to engage with the roleplay in order to play. And as far as the racist thing, maybe she thought it was a way to break the ice or something. Overall, it seems like this person may have issues with socializing, and after realizing that nobody was engaging with what she posted, she just panicked and noped out of there. Definitely weird, but probably for the best that she left. Though here's hoping that OP has success with their play-by-post. Let's move on. Min-Maxer gets the literal power to summon a god to fight for him. By Reddit user Waste Marionberry 984. Playing a Spelljammer version of D&D, we are a party of 5. Most of us are mostly focused on role-playing, but one of the players, let's call them Jake, clearly tries to make the strongest build possible. There's nothing wrong with that on its own, but it's been an issue as they clearly try to outclass everyone else whenever a role is involved. Jake is also the type of player to only ever stay in character whenever it is combat, and as soon as we're out of combat, they will just start talking about things that are going on in their life. We get into a mission where we have to go fight some elementals on an asteroid. The party stumbles upon a druid grove, and Jake secretly gets an amulet. The story continues, and we all of a sudden have to fight a god. The fight went rather smoothly, way too smoothly. The god then revives, and a second harder phase begins. At this point, most people in the party are already down and out of spell slots. We managed to defeat him again, and guess what? A third, even harder phase. In this version, we basically had to roll nat 20s to almost even hit this god. Well, lucky for us, the amulet has the power to summon a god as well that helps Jake out. With the help of this god, with the god being the only one doing anything, we win this combat. So, we had to go through a fight where we basically had to wait for Jake to summon his god and win the fight for us. Sounds bad, right? Well, this is what happens next. For some needed backstory, my character is an Exolotl Ranger obsessed with frogs. A giant frog was teased in prior sessions, so I was really hyped to meet that frog. Now, the god Jake summoned wants us to go kill that frog. Note that this isn't a campaign that deals with extreme power levels. My character has received an arrow that deals +1 damage. Our sorcerer got a staff that triggers wild magic once per long rest. Our artificer gets a bag of holding, and the rogue a dagger +1. And then there's Jake, with the power to summon a god now. I guess that's a thing from now on. Well, while I can understand that it's annoying that OP has a player like this in the campaign, this sounds more like a Dungeon Master issue. For one reason or another, it seems like the DM is giving this player special treatment. Or it could just be an issue of the DM being new, and not knowing how to balance things between players to make things fair. In any case, the best course of action here is to talk to the DM, and air your concerns with the game and the way things are going. If the DM is receptive to criticism, then hopefully he'll change things to make the game a bit more fair, and not put so much of a spotlight onto just one player. But if not, then it sounds to me like OP isn't having much fun in this game, and that is where no D&D is better than bad D&D comes into play. But with that said, let's move on to today's final story. Player thinks he can solve racism with a shopping montage. By Reddit user WereBadger. This was in a homebrew 5th edition campaign, pitched as serious and roleplay heavy within a common friend group of people in their mid to late 20s. The DM told us ahead of character creation that, for lore reasons, certain races would potentially face racism in this setting, and recommended we only create a character of those races if we were up for role-playing that. In particular, he told us that orcs and half-orcs would face extreme racism. One player, a white man like most of the group, made a half-orc named Throwbar, choosing the race mostly because he wanted the racial traits for a specific character build. The game starts, and a few sessions in, the party encounters a group of soldiers on the road. The soldiers become immediately suspicious of the party because we're traveling with a half-orc and make a few racist comments. Throwbar is shocked, as if he's never encountered bigotry before in his life. He tries to argue the captain out of being racist, but only succeeds in aggravating him more. The captain demands that the party hand over their weapons and makes it clear that there will be a fight if we don't. Before we can even discuss the situation, Throwbar decides, "Well, I guess I attack him," forcing us all into a combat that our level 3 characters probably can't win. It would have been a TPK, except the DM was merciful and had the soldiers incapacitate and arrest us instead of killing us. Once we managed to get out of trouble, Throwbar, like the rest of us, wanted to make sure something like that did not happen again. His solution? In the next town, he went shopping for new clothes to, quote, make him look less threatening. The entire party sat for about an hour while he picked out a Samhain polo shirt and commissioned a pair of purely aesthetic glasses, thinking that the outfit would somehow make people less racist. The rest of us were making jokes about how dumb the idea was, but it didn't stop him. He really thought that he could model minority his way out of racism. The next time Throwbar encountered discrimination, he reminded the DM about his new outfit and asked if it made a difference. The DM simply said, "No," and kept going. The same player managed to tank 2 different campaigns that I ran as a DM, and now a good portion of the friend group refuses to play with him at all. But those are different stories. Edit for clarification. People seem to be getting the idea that this campaign was just about racism. I didn't talk about the other things that happened in the campaign, because why would I include stuff that's not relevant to the story? Most characters we met didn't even mention his race, and the ones that were racist did not prevent him from doing anything plot crucial. It just made some things more difficult, exactly like he was warned ahead of time. Well, it sounds like this player just suffered from a bit of stupidity more than anything. I'll admit, I even laughed at the concept of this half-orc buying a polo shirt and glasses to try and subvert the challenges that his character would face. Now, some might say that there shouldn't be any racism in games of D&D, and to that, I say, as long as everyone agrees to those themes, a lot of complex roleplay can come from it. I mean, heck, a lot of great fantasy games tackles those themes with great effect, like Dragon Age and The Witcher. Anyway, overall, not that much of a horror story. But as OP alluded to, this player was a problem for other reasons in other campaigns, to the point that a lot of players refused to play with him. So I will keep a lookout to see if OP writes any of those stories. But that is all I have for you today. As always, I appreciate all of you, and hope that your games remain horror story free. Until next time.